If your life were a movie, what kind would it be? A horror story where fear and struggle seem to chase you at every turn? A comedy where life's absurdities keep you entertained? A thriller where you're always on edge waiting for the next twist? Or a love story where everything unfolds with a deep sense of connection and trust? We've been talking about rewriting the story of our lives, recognizing that we are the narrators and that by changing our narration, we change our experience. But there's something even deeper than the story itself, the emotion that's behind the story. Because every great story has a feeling, and that feeling determines the energy that moves through the life. But here's the key: you don't just choose the story, you choose the emotional genre of that story. So, what genre have you been writing? And what genre do you want to create? As a teenager, I became very angry. I felt like the world was against me, like nothing was going my way. And that became my story, a story of frustration, resentment, and isolation. And because I saw my life that way, I withdrew. But one night I was watching a documentary on TV. I don't even remember its purpose, but I saw people enjoying life, connecting, being free. And something inside me just knew I could feel that too. I could live in a different story. So I made a decision. I set aside my anger as best I could at the time and I opened up to connection. I looked around and I joined this vibrant church social group at the time, full of energy, warmth, and even hope. And suddenly everything really shifted for me. My life wasn't a story of isolation anymore. It was starting to become, I guess, an adventure of joy and belonging. So that's the power of changing the genre, the emotional content of your story. Now, what makes these stories feel so different? It's not just the events, it's the emotion behind them. So, emotions are energy in motion, they are the fuel behind our experiences. When we change the emotions we bring to our story, we change the very substance of our lives. Some people believe emotions are something that just happens to us, that we feel fear, we feel sadness or anxiety, and there's nothing that we can do about it. But in reality, emotions are something that we interpret, we shape them, and even choose. If you've been living in fear, you don't have to stay there. You can shift your posture, you can lift your eyes, you can allow love to rise in your heart, first toward yourself, and from that place outward to the world. Now, last year, I was invited to a university reunion at my college at Oxford. I really wanted to go, but this anxiety started creeping in. I felt this pressure to, to somehow justify my achievements since college. I wondered how people would see me, if they would judge how my life had taken a different path. Um, that fear could have taken over me. It could have turned the experience into, I guess, some sort of psychological thriller full of tension, discomfort, and second guessing. But I chose a different genre, a different emotion to my story at the time. I told myself, this is a story of excitement, connection, and confidence. I committed to transforming my fear into anticipation. Whenever anxiety arose, I turned to the story I wanted to experience. So I affirmed good outcomes. I let go of fear. When I arrived at the event, I walked tall. I stepped forward into conversations instead of shrinking back. And you know what? I had a fantastic time. That's the power of emotional transmutation. So, this isn't just personal experience. This idea of emotional transformation, transmutation, has deep roots in, I guess you might say, ancient wisdom. The book, The Kybalion, by the Three Initiatives, talks about this principle of rhythm, the idea that everything moves in cycles and that we can ride those cycles instead of being controlled by them. I did a video a number of months ago about how to transform your mental state that specifically talked about this principle of rhythm. I'll link it in the description of this video and you can go and check it out. So emotions are no different. They also go in cycles. Fear and doubt may come in waves, but we can direct that energy towards a higher frequency. We can turn it into excitement, into confidence, into love. So ask yourself, what genre have you built so far? And what genre of story do you want to write going forward in your life? So I guess unfortunately, many of us have been writing horror stories, filling our lives with fear, doubt, and struggle. Others live dramas, reliving past wounds and reinforcing old limitations. But what if we let go of that? What if we allowed our lives to be love stories? So, over the past few years, as I've deepened my meditation practice and explored the teachings of the Christ mind and I am teachings, I'll put some description of that in the description of this video to give you some insight. I've come to see something fundamental. Love is the true nature of life. It's not something outside of us. It's not something we have to chase. It is us. It's who I am. And when I allow myself and I allow love to be present within myself, my life evolves into the love story. And this is the love story that it is always meant to be. And guess what? Yours can too. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. You are the author. You choose the genre, the emotion of your story, and you can change it at any moment. If you've been telling a story of fear, rewrite it as a story of love. If you've been narrating a tragedy, let it become one of growth, redemption, and joy. And remember, feeling is the secret. Neville Goddard wrote a good book with that title. It's worth a read. Everything begins with the emotion you choose. So, what genre are you writing? And what genre of story will you choose next? So, if this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. What genre of story have you been living in? And what's one way you can shift it today? And if you found this video useful, please subscribe. I'll continue to share my perspective and ideas that resonate with me on this channel. I'll catch you again soon.